So two people are in a financial jam and think that making porn is the solution to their problem. Sounds familiar. How you doing today? My name is Ryan, and this is Down to Business Reviews. This week for Movie Club, we watched Lovelace, directed by Rob Epstein and Jeffrey Friedman, and starring Amanda Seyfried, Peter Sarsgaard, and James Franco. Lovelace is a biopic of Linda Lovelace, star of one of the most famous and infamous adult films ever made, Deep Throat. The film also chronicles her relationship with her abusive husband who pushed her into the world of pornography and her attempts to escape from her unwanted stardom. There are two words that come to mind when trying to describe this film to people, and they are cautionary tale. This film takes place in a time before the internet, when things like pornography were so easily accessible and pervasive in our culture. It was sort of an underbelly of the media. If you wanted to see an adult film, you actually had to go to a theater. No one had ever seen something like this in popular culture, and then wham! Deep Throat comes out. A scripted, feature-length story adult film. It was the first time an adult film gained nationwide attention, and it made an instant star out of Linda Lovelace, for better or for worse. All of that to say, I'm not entirely sure that Linda knew what she was getting herself into. And obviously she married the devil, if Peter Sarsgaard character Chuck Traynor is at all accurate to real life. Now, obviously, if Linda's account is to be believed, she was, brutally victimized. I'm not denying that at all, but she does carry a little bit of the blame. But obviously not all of the blame. Basically, everyone else in this story kind of has to shoulder a little bit of the blame too for what happened to this poor girl. Almost nobody in this film does anything right to try and help Linda's situation, or if they do, it's too late, and even though they're trying to help, she can't get out. So who is to blame for what happened to Linda? Here's a list. First, Dad. Kinda dropped the ball on that one a little bit, didn't you? Secondly, Linda's mom, who gives Linda some of the absolute worst marriage advice when Linda tells her that her husband hits her. Let me clear the theological air for you. Her actions in that moment were not righteous. They were deeply demonic. Obviously, she finds out later on that probably wasn't the best advice to give her daughter when she's a national star in a porno. But there is absolutely no excuse that a man has to beat his wife. I know she's portrayed as a deeply religious person, and if you think that's that's what all the religious people believe, that you should just kind of take it on the chin if you're a wife. No, that is not true. Thirdly, peer pressure and certainly grass are to blame. It's only a little grass. Wham! Porn star. Fourthly, Linda, you should have known a skeezy guy when you saw one. Did you see the facial hair situation going on? Red flags. And obviously, her husband Chuck Traynor carries the lion's share of the blame for what happened to her. What an evil son of a bitch. He literally pimped her out, he beat her, he let disgusting men take advantage of her, and he basically forced her into pornography. What an evil man. So yeah, Lovelace, check it out on Netflix. That brings us to the right and wrong of Lovelace. What did Lovelace do right? I knew next to nothing about the subject matter of this movie before seeing the film. I knew the name Linda Lovelace, but only in the context that I knew she was an adult film star from sometime, in the 70s or 80s. That's all that I knew. This film did present a biography of her life in a very interesting and captivating way, and it put a human face on an industry that is, built on fantasy and dehumanizing the people involved in it. So I really appreciated that. I thought the way the story was presented was pretty creative. A large part of the film you actually see twice. The first time through, you see her story through the eyes of the people around her. It's all the glitz and glamour. She's this vixen of the big screen. It's all the stars and makeup and lights, and it all looks, like a great time. But then you see the same story again through Linda's eyes, and you see all the dark things that happened, behind the curtains, behind the scenes. How she was abused and beaten and forced into this industry. It was a really interesting method of filmmaking. Thirdly, this film does not glorify the sex industry in any way, and I personally appreciate that. There are probably an alarming number of both men and women in the sex industry in a similar situation to Linda, and this film calls that to light. I also thought that Amanda Seyfried and Peter Sarsgaard played their parts very well. You do feel very, sorry for what's happening to Linda, and you absolutely hate Chuck Trainor's guts in this film, and if, an actor like Peter Sarsgaard can make you hate the character, he's doing a good job if he's the antagonist. But what did Lovelace do wrong? The subject matter of this movie is pretty rough, and because of that, I think it was difficult to really discern the message until the end of the film. I think it can be difficult to do a serious, dramatic film about the porn industry, especially when it's trying to shed light on the darker aspects of it. It's like saying, this industry is evil sometimes. Here are some boobs. And then, they'll tell like a joke, and you know that the subtext to this joke is really something pretty dark. But it's funny, and you're like, should I be laughing? Does that make me a horrible person for laughing at this thing that is a joke? But beneath that is something pretty sinister. I don't know, it's a weird place to be. Secondly, it's obvious that Linda is, terribly abused and victimized. But with most cautionary tales, it's easy to just be like, well, you shouldn't have gone and done something stupid like marry the owner of a strip club. I mean, come on. She is the victim, but she's also a lot more than that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that her character did come across as a little one-dimensional. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not trying to demean her character or her as a person, because obviously what happened to her was horrible, and a lot of the people around her did terrible things. So it's really just an awful situation, like all around. Just really bad. Lovelace is an interesting look into part of the entertainment industry that rarely gets a lot of publicity, and it shines a light right into the eyes of the darkness that lurks in the hearts of humanity. Linda's story is both tragic and hopeful, and it really makes you rethink your browser history. If you thought this film was interesting at all, I recommend seeing Joseph Gordon-Levitt's film Don John, which came out last year. It's pretty graphic, but it carries just as strong of a message. Lovelace gets a B-. That's all for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe if you really liked it. The question of the week is this: is pornography art? It's a question that is posed in this film. All these pornographers are trying to make, real art with their adult films. So where is the line between the Venus de Milo and Deep Throat? I'd love to hear your answers in the comments down below. If you didn't know, I do these reviews for SourceFed Nerds Movie Club, which airs every Saturday on their channel. Be sure to check it out. Sometimes I get featured, sometimes I don't. Be sure to check out the hashtag SFMC Lovelace to see all the other reviews for this film. That said, make sure you follow me on Twitter, check out my Facebook page, find me on the Googs+. Thanks again for watching, I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.